Georgia scores 45 points again this time in what seemed like a blowout game, but was certainly pretty competitive in the second half. 45-32, Georgia, a win over an Arkansas team that everybody keeps talking about is going to win eventually. Not tonight. Hudson Mason completed 10 passes and Georgia scored 45 points. This defense, although it was a little bit shaky in the second half for whatever reason, 4 turnovers again. I mean, Georgia's just playing the way they need to play defensively to get the job done. They can beat anybody in the country without Todd Gurley, and that's crazy. Now, as it relates to Todd, there's a lot of – I mean, what Greg McGarity sent out the day after the Todd Gurley situation is still, I think, true. There is a lot of misinformation. People, including everybody in the media, is assuming this is all about autographs. We don't know what it's about, and I think that's the big thing that needs to be kept in mind. But, if you're Georgia, you may or may not have Todd. And that's just something you're going to have to keep in mind. I've been told he'll be back by the Florida game. I don't know that, but people are relatively adamant that will be the case. I think Georgia's playing it calm and cool here. They knew he was not going to be able to play this week, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. And people can get angry about it right now if they want to, and that's fine. But, I'm going to wait until Georgia, until the truth comes out, whatever that is, and then I'm going to make my opinion known at that stage. But on the field, this thing it's not a one-man wrecking crew, but, I mean, and this is somewhat blasphemous too. I mean, is Nick playing as well as Todd was playing? I mean, he's not as explosive, but that 43-yard run was crazy, man. I mean, that got Georgia up 17-6, and I thought at that stage all they got to do is score one more touchdown. They're in really good shape. Of course, they scored about 3.5 minutes after that with Dominic Sanders with a huge play, 54-yard touchdown. They put together about – of their last 8 quarters, actually, of their last 12 quarters, 3 games, they put together some dominating performances on defense. There have been stretches where the defense has not been knockout, but this team is a team. This team is looking a little bit scary. I'm exhausted, obviously, from these drives and these trips, but these kids got a couple weeks off. Florida looks horrible. They look as bad as they've looked since the 80s. It's bad. I don't know if Muschamp will be the guy there when the Florida gets to Jacksonville. But, Georgia hadn't exactly rolled over the Gators forever. And this is an important game for Georgia. They win that game, that's not going to be for the East because Missouri still only has 1 loss tonight. Kentucky's getting beat by LSU. So, Georgia still got, after that Florida game, they still have 2 conference games left. These guys are basically 4 yards away from being undefeated. And I think in the polling, it needs to start reflecting that a little bit more. I think Georgia's a little bit underranked right now, frankly, at 10. I think they're probably 5 or 6, and we're going to see somebody's undefeated tonight is going to lose between Florida State and Notre Dame. But this defense, good God. And the other thing, Hudson was 10 for 17. If he had been, 11 for 17, Georgia had scored another touchdown. It'd be 52-32. He just overthrew a ball that he missed, and Isaiah McKenzie played well. I mean, there's just nothing to be angry about besides the Todd Gurley thing, and that's something Todd did to himself and to his teammates. And I really am I'm not speechless, but you're at the stage here where. You didn't know if this was going to turn around. Defensively, you didn't know if they were going to get to where they needed to go. They look as good defensively as they have in some time. I mean, second half wasn't the greatest thing on earth. Arkansas wound up with 422 yards, but the Hogs were 28 of 45 with 2 interceptions. 296 yards through the air with 3 touchdowns. They just started going as fast as they could. But Georgia took away the run. The Hogs only managed about give or take, a little bit less than 4 yards a carry. They only had 126 yards rushing. They took away what they did well. They made them throw it. And the Hogs threw it a little bit, but are we going to give Mike Bobo some credit at some stage? I mean, all 45 of those points are not his, but I don't know. This team needs a week off. I think we all do. Heading to that game in Jacksonville, it's an important game, obviously, goes without saying. And if Georgia hadn't won so far this season, this would be a big game. And I'm just going to say something right now. I don't want to hear about South Carolina being a big game for Georgia when we get this deep into the season every year. And, you know, it's always the Florida game because it's a terminal game. I mean, if Georgia doesn't win against Florida, you're going to have some real problems. So, you know, Kentucky, I think, is going to fall by the wayside. South Carolina has already fallen by the wayside. You know, Florida and South Carolina still have to play each other. This East is Georgia's to be had, and it's you know, it's time to get back to Atlanta. Three championships out of 4 years in the division will be a big deal, but this is a team that can win the SEC. I'm not saying they should, but it can. And if they get Todd back, all bets are off. They're playing almost as well as anybody in the country right now. They're good, and you know, people are going to focus on the Todd thing, and that's understandable. But on the field, if the defense continues to play the way that it has the bulk of the last 3 games, and if Nick Chubb and Sony and whoever else can run it, and if, frankly, this season has turned around because of 2 things. I would say turned around. This season has continued to, you know, go the way Georgia people want for 2 reasons. Hudson's playing better, period. He's being more concise. He's being better. He's more confident. Bryce Ramsey pushed him, I guess, and he's just starting to play better. Number 2, and more importantly, I guess, well, they're pretty equal. This defense has played drastically better than they did. Those 2 things combined with the run game, this offensive line is very good. That's going to get them to Atlanta. And, you know, I don't know who's going to be there. It could be Auburn, it could be Bama, it could be State or Ole Miss. Georgia can win that game, and certainly can win that game in a one-game scenario. They probably couldn't beat those 4 teams in 4 straight weeks, but that's not what that day is about. It's about the Eastern champion playing the Western champion. And you don't get bonus points if you show up undefeated. You got to win that game. You know, War Memorial is a fascinating place. I'm going to wrap it up here, Wes. We got to work on the internet here. We got to work on the traffic. We got to work on these sidelines. This is a rough experience, just as a reporter. So Georgia plays the last SEC game at War Memorial Stadium in foreseeable future, and they play well, winning 54-32.